I watched a video about the 5 monkey story, and it was really interesting. It made me wonder if the story is actually true. 5 monkeys, 1 cage, 1 banana, and a ladder leading right to it. Of course, the first monkey goes straight for the banana. But every time one monkey tries to grab that delicious banana, the rest of the crew gets a face full of ice-cold water. Not the monkey who reached for the banana, but all the others. So, after a few wet and wild rounds, they figure it out. No more banana missions. Climbing the ladder equals everyone gets soaked. Not worth it. And soon the rule is simple. Stay off the ladder or we all pay the price. But here's where things get interesting. A new monkey joins the group, fresh, excited, clueless. What do the others do? Do they explain? Nope. They yank him down. No ladder climbing, they seem to scream. So now the new monkey is like, wait, what? What did I do? But rules are rules, right? Slowly, one by one, the old monkeys are replaced by new ones, until none of these monkeys have ever been sprayed with water. And yet, they still refuse to go near the ladder. No one dares to break the unwritten rule, even if no one knows why anymore. They just do what they've always done. Before we go any further, it's worth noting the 5-monkey experiment was first mentioned in the popular book Competing for the Future, but no source was provided. So we can't say for sure if it's real or just a clever story. In 1961, psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a similar experiment to understand how far people would go to obey authority figures. The setup was simple. 2 people show up, thinking they're part of a study on learning and memory. One is the teacher, our real participant. The other is the learner, who's actually in on the whole thing. The learner gets strapped into this chair, wired up to some fake but very convincing electrodes. The teacher's job? To quiz the learner on word pairs and give them a shock for every wrong answer. Every time the learner messes up, the shock gets stronger. 15 volts, 30 volts, all the way up to a bone-chilling 450 volts. But here's where things get crazy. The learner, hidden in another room, starts screaming in pain after a few shocks. They beg for the experiment to stop. They even pound on the walls. You'd think that would make the teacher stop, right? A whopping 65% of participants went all the way to the maximum 450 volts, even when the learner fell silent, which basically means they thought the guy was unconscious, or worse. Why? Because a person in a white lab coat kept calmly telling them, the experiment requires that you continue. Milgram wanted to understand why people followed orders, even if those orders meant hurting someone else. His experiment taught us something pretty dark. Ordinary people can do terrible things if an authority figure tells them to. It's not because they're evil, it's because humans are wired to obey authority. The dilemma inherent in submission to authority is ancient, but it is still with us. Welcome to the real-world obedience test, where you're the one being tested. Unreasonable requests are a common obedience test. They push your limits just to see how far you'll bend before you break. You've been handed a task without knowing where it came from or who it's really for. You can only report progress to the person who brought it to you. This is the classic mystery mission. It's the perfect way to keep you in the dark, compliant, and doing work without questioning it. It's a test of obedience and trust. You feel like you have no choice but to agree to something just to avoid conflict, to maintain peace, or to keep the status quo. Maybe someone's subtly guilt-tripping you. Or worse, they've got that, if you don't do it, you're letting everyone down tone. Micromanagement. Your actions are closely monitored and documented with timestamps. You feel pressured, speeding through tasks faster and faster to avoid scrutiny. Any suspicious mistake is noted and reported. They are not your boss, or even on your team, but somehow they speak for you in meetings. They've positioned themselves like they're running the show. You share your plan A with them, and suddenly you receive an email from them telling you to implement plan A like it was their idea. Acting like they have all the power over your work. The tool is ridiculously slow. The design is ridiculously confusing. Manipulative feedback is designed to make you feel defensive or insecure. It's about keeping you compliant. They'll just toss in some sneaky insults to keep you doubting yourself. Isolation starts small. They keep everyone else in the loop except for you. They organize quick huddle right after you leave. But then it gets worse. They coordinate project discussions without your invite. And suddenly, they are the ones bringing you mystery missions. It's not a coincidence. Isolation is one of the most subtle but powerful ways to test your willingness to accept the situation. Lack of communication reflects a dynamic where your independence or authority is being undermined. When faced with these subtle tests, it's not easy to confront them head-on. Private conversations often backfire, leading to accusations that you're being narrow-minded or paranoid. Moreover, it's a process that takes time. You need multiple instances to finally recognize the pattern. It's tough for those around you to see it as clearly as you do. In this game, you don't have supporters, and there's little concrete evidence to back you up. What can we do? A strategic response can make them think twice about testing you. They realize that you're smart, savvy. You know how to set boundaries, be assertive, and not let them get under your skin. Once they see that, they back off or move on to target someone they see as weaker. Or you could just obey. Let them push you to your limits. See how fast you can work, how much pressure you can handle, how much you can endure. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. One day you'll be strong enough to fly away.